Hello and welcome to my date night cooking class. So we did this on live last Thursday, but we're going to re-record it here for shout out to the Woodberries. They're picking up a kit this afternoon. So we're going to go through the steps again just to give it a little bit more intimate experience, so that way it's a little more one-on-one with whoever's taking these kits home. So great. So we're going to start here. We're going to start with dessert. Everybody's favorite, right? So first, we have to start boiling some heavy cream, which I've got in your kit there. It's 2 cups. We're going to bring that to a boil, and while that's working, we are going to whisk our egg yolks and our sugar together. So you want to whisk that so it's combined, and then the egg yolks will be like a light yellow. So it'll kind of look like that, if you can see in there. And this should be coming up to a boil any second now. So we're making for dessert, we're making chocolate pot de creme, which is similar to like a creme brulee or something like that. It's a baked custard. So in order to do that, we're gonna bring our cream to a boil. We whisk our eggs. We're gonna add our hot cream to our eggs, which is called tempering, which is a way to cook the egg yolks without curdling them like you would scrambled eggs. You're not looking for scrambled eggs here. It's just a way to combine them and cook the eggs without bringing them over 180 degrees, which will curdle them. So now that our milk is boiling, be careful it doesn't boil over. We're going to turn it off, and we're going to add it to our eggs here slowly, and just kind of whisk it to the combined. And get around all those edges and everything, so all of that is all mixed together. So tempering is a technique that's used for a lot of pastry dishes. If you're making pastry cream or diplomat or creme brulee, pot de creme, all kinds of stuff. And now that we've got our cream and eggs combined, we're going to add our chocolate to our hot mixture here and just kind of mix it and whisk it until the chocolate's fully melted. It's going to kind of look like hot chocolate in there. It's that light brown color. What we've got here is a dark chocolate. It's 80% cocoa, which for something like this brings a lot of chocolate flavor without having to necessarily add too much sweetener. I say a lot, huh?
I didn't notice.
So we're going to take once our chocolate's fully melted in there and it looks kind of like hot cocoa, we're going to take it and we're going to put it in 2 oven-safe containers here, or souffle cups. And then we're going to take that and we're going to put it in a pan. We'll use a little bit of the magic of TV here. We're going to put it in a deeper pan. We're going to fill it with water up the side to about halfway. And then we're going to cover the whole thing with foil. So, so when you're baking it, it doesn't burn or curdle the sides. The water will bring it up to the perfect temperature to cook it and set those egg yolks without burning the outsides. So we'll take care of that. And while that's in the oven, let's start on the entree. So the entree is our crab stuffed lobster tail. Right here we've got an 8 to 10 ounce lobster tail. This one's probably about 9 ounces, which is a pretty nice sized lobster tail. First we're gonna start with our crab filling. So if you've ever been to the club and had the crab cakes, this is pretty much the same recipe that I use for the crab cakes, which means it's 90% crab and just enough other stuff to add flavor and keep it together. So first, we'll take our mayonnaise. This is 4 ounces of mayonnaise, or half a cup. Now we're going to combine that with our Old Bay seasoning. whole grain mustard, panko breadcrumbs. You can use a different kind of breadcrumb if you're making these another time. Panko are my favorite kind of breadcrumb. They're super extra crispy, which is achieved by, so panko is a bread made in Japan that they don't bake necessarily, they more shoot it with electric current to cook the bread itself, and then it becomes crustless, which is a really cool concept. So we're going to combine all that, a little bit of salt and pepper. And then we're going to add our whole egg. We're just going to, I like to use my hands. I like to get nice and messy and mixed in there. And we're going to mix everything together until it's fully combined. Now when I do this crab cake at the club, we use jumbo lump, which is the nicest and biggest kind of crab meat that you can buy. This is super lump, which is, for this purpose, it's a little less expensive, but it works great. Still has the same flavor, but you don't get quite as big a chunks of that crab, which is okay because the lobster is the star of this show. So we're going to add our 1 pound of crab here, and we're just going to combine all those things together. Gently folding it a little bit so we break up the lumps as little as possible. We're going to try and keep it in our bowl. And once that's all combined, it should look almost like a crab cake that's unbaked. We're going to take that. Let me get this out of the way so you can see what's going on here. All right, so we're going to mix, we have our crab mixture here. Now we've got our lobster tail. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this crab and we're going to kind of gently form it around the lobster tail itself, all that meat, kind of put a giant crab cake all around it. So when we bake this, it's going to protect the lobster tail from the external heat and kind of cook it in the crab juices, which adds a lot of flavor. So that's basically what we're looking for here. We're going to take this and we're going to bake it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes. If you have a thermometer, you're looking for the lobster tail to be around 130, 135 degrees internal, which is not quite fully cooked, but almost. So we'll have that and we'll put that in the oven, and then we'll move on to the next thing. So the lobster tail, we're going to serve with a little lemon creme fraiche, and then some roasted tomato, cream spinach. We're not going to make those here today, and I've included them already completed, but there's recipes in the recipe packet that have been given. A little lemon and some butter right on top. It also goes great with that lobster tail. So we're going to move on to the appetizer. The appetizer we're going to cook here, we're going to serve it with a little sweet potato puree, which also, like the cream spinach, I've already completed for you. You will just need to reheat it, which you can do in a saute pan on the stove, or if you wanted, the microwave works for something like this. Depends on your level of effort and how many dishes you want to do, right? So the scallop dish, we're going to make a vinaigrette, which for this purposes here, we're going to make a lemon vanilla vinaigrette. So I've got a little vanilla paste that I include in your kit. Vanilla paste is a product. Vanilla beans are very expensive, and so this is kind of like a byproduct. When they take all the little seeds out of the vanilla bean to get that flavor, they then boil the pods with some other ingredients to make this vanilla paste, which has a great flavor and is way less expensive than if you tried to buy a vanilla bean. So we're going to take our vanilla bean and we're going to add lemon to it. Vanilla extract or imitation vanilla would work for this, but those are not my favorite products. I'm a huge vanilla fan, and they kind of taste like vanilla, but if you've ever tasted them, they're not quite the same, right? So I've got 2 lemons here that I've pre-rolled and squeezed some of the juice in here, trying to avoid all the seeds. If you get the seeds in there, it's no problem though. You can strain them out or pick them out. It all works. We're going to squeeze all that juice into there. We're going to add some salt and some pepper. And then we're going to whisk all those things up to combine them. Now, most vinaigrettes that we do are 3 parts oil and 1 part your acid, which it would be your lemon, or if you're making a cider vinaigrette, it'd be cider vinegar or something like that. So this one though is a little bit more on the heavy on the lemon side. It's more 2.5 parts lemon, or 2.5 parts oil to 1 part lemon. So we're going to start slowly drizzling the oil into our lemon mixture here while we whisk it to form an emulsification, which an emulsification is the combination of fat and liquid. So water and oil don't mix, right? But if you do an emulsification, they'll mix together just fine. So we've got that all whisked together here, and it should be, you know, thick like a vinaigrette. If you can see in there, it's a nice light color. We're going to taste it for seasoning. It's always important to taste your food. That's good. Good. So we'll set that aside. And then let's do the main event here. So this is pan-seared scallops. So we're going to sear these in a nice hot pan. So we're going to start preheating this. And while that's preheating, we're going to season our scallops with salt, a good amount of salt, because we're only going to season one side, and black pepper. A lot of chefs don't like to use black pepper on scallops, but I'm not a huge white pepper fan, and I have no trouble using some black pepper. So our pan's getting preheated. We're going to add some olive oil. If you have a non-stick pan, this is a great use for that. If you don't, I would suggest that your scallops are really nice and dry, to try and avoid those sticking in the bottom of the pan. So you'll see once the oil that we've added to the pan starts, I can talk a little bit, starts emitting a little bit of smoke, they're ready for your scallops. So we're going to add our scallops here. You can hear the sizzle. And then once they're all in, give them a little shake to make sure they're not sticking. Clean up as I go. I'm a messy chef, so this is about as clean as you'll see. So we're going to sear those on one side for probably about 2 minutes. So we're just going to let those cook. Scallops are such a great seafood. They go great with things like vanilla and sweet potatoes and hazelnuts, which are good because that's what I included in this dish. So our sweet potato puree I made here, I've made it for you already, and we will, you can just heat that up in a pan just like this one, or in the microwave. That works just fine. Hopefully you don't have smoke detectors in your kitchen, because these are going to smoke off quite a bit and give off a really flavorful aroma. But if you have smoke detectors near your kitchen, they will go off. I know that's a problem I have in my kitchen at home, is the smoke detector isn't in the kitchen, but it's right outside. So every time I cook at home, that thing goes off. It's crazy. So you can see the scallops are starting to brown a little bit, but not quite enough. So we're going to sear those, keep those going. Another couple minutes here. Personally, I like to eat my scallops rare, which means that they're just barely warm in the middle. If you have scallops and they're tough, generally that means they're overcooked. So I like my scallops where they're just barely warm, like about 115 degrees inside. So I'll show you how I would eat them. If you're one of those people who likes them a little bit more cooked, that's okay. I can kind of explain how to do that as well. take a look here. We've got a little bit of browning started, but they need to get a lot of color on there. We're gonna keep those going. Now these scallops, when I did these, I had them at about room temperature, which means it's a little easier for me to get them rare there without having to cook them too long. But if you're doing them out of the fridge, that's just fine. You might just have to baste them a little bit longer than normal. To know if a scallop is done, what I like to do is I'll take my tongs and I'll kind of touch the top. And if there's just a little bit of give, but it's not super firm, that's my preference for doneness. So they should give a little bit and kind of spring back. If they're kind of still like jiggly, that means they're not cooked enough. And if they're really firm, that means that they're a little closer to the well done. So our scallops are starting to fully cook here. What I'm going to do is we're going to add a little bit of shallots. Well, that's a lot of shallots. That's all right. A lot of flavor. And some thyme. And we're going to cook those right in the pan along with the scallops. You hear the crackling? That's a good thing. And we're going to add a good amount of butter. Now once we've got the nice brown color on the one side here, kind of like that, we're going to flip these over. And we're going to let that butter brown right in there in the pan with the shallots and garlic. We're going to turn our heat down to low, just enough to kind of keep that butter sizzling. And we're going to start basting these with that butter. This is how you add a lot of flavor with just a few ingredients. Thyme, scallops, shallots, butter, that all goes great together. So we're going to start basting these in the sizzling butter. And we're not searing the other side, we're just kind of cooking the scallops in the butter to the desired doneness. Now if you want them a little more well done, some people prefer that, you could do this for 3 or 4 minutes. For me, I like them a little rare, so I'm going to do this 1 to 2 minutes. And it's okay if you get pieces of shallot over the top of the scallop. It's already cooked. It's a great flavor. Shallots, thyme, scallops, butter, vanilla, it all goes great. I think I lost my heat a little bit here, so we're going to turn it up just a little bit. And we're going to keep basting these scallops. So now for doneness, I'm touching them here, and they're still pretty gummy, so we're just going to go another minute or 2.
Chef, I know in the live cooking class, they asked where they could get the crab meat like you got, and they asked about where to get scallops that were a good size like those.
That's a good question. Like Allison said, in our live demo, some people ask where they can get quality seafood and things like this. You can probably get these things at the seafood counter in Whole Foods, scallops like this. You can probably, I don't know if they sell jumbo lump, but if they do, it's probably going to be pretty pricey. Super lump or back fin would work just fine for this, but like I said, it's not as, for me, the jumbo lump works great for crab cakes. The super lump is just fine for a product like this. Whole Foods would be my first choice. I'm not super familiar with Lansing yet, but there's some other seafood markets in the area I'm sure that would be able to have scallops, and these are U10 diver scallops, so that means there's less than 10 per pound when you buy them, which I find great for appetizers or entrees. 3 or 4 of them is great for a nice entree. You can also get 10 to 20s, which are still a good size scallop. Whole Foods is probably your best bet, or maybe even Meyer. I know they just opened that Urban Meyer downtown, which is a pretty nice little store. I went in there the other day. So now that these are done, I've touched the top with a spoon, and they've got a little bit of give to them, but they're still pretty firm. We'll plate this up. So I've got my hot sweet potato puree here. I'm just going to do that in the center of the plate. And remember, you're doing this for 2. I'm going to take my scallops, and I'm going to kind of set those on top here. Maybe sit them in the sweet potato puree just a little bit. And remember, you have to do this for 2, so we'll save those ones. Then I've got microgreens, which I've included here. We're going to drizzle a little bit of that vanilla vinaigrette right on top. And then you can give them a little shake. Kind of dress the greens just like that. I'm going to put those on the top. We're going to have a little hazelnuts here, which I've pre-toasted and crushed for you, kind of save a few steps. And then I'm going to take my vinaigrette, and we're just going to drizzle a little bit more on the plate. If you ever go to like a more modern restaurant, the messy look is in right now, where they just sauce everything all over the plate. We're going to drizzle that a little bit around. And there we have it. That's our scallops with sweet potato puree, hazelnuts, and microgreen salad. So for the entree and the dessert, I'm going to have Carrie include some pictures of what we did on Thursday night. So if you have any questions, please reach out. You can find my cell phone number or my office number or my email all on the website. So enjoy and send me some pictures. Let me know how it goes. Thank you.